My name is Jan Schwieterman, and my character is Jerry.
Tell me about Jerry.
Jerry is one of those, the director kind of sees him as someone who wants to try to be cool. You know, he's trying to hang out with his friends. He's almost paralyzed, I think. I remember back in high school being paralyzed sometimes with fear of not having friends, so you end up staying in the same group even though they don't treat you as well as they should. But Jerry's kind of like that, in which, you know...
So you felt you were able to relate a bit to this character?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Back in my high school days, first couple of years, I was able to relate to the character that way. And just, I don't know if you've ever experienced something like that.
Yes.
Where you need them, but you hate them. It's a love-hate relationship.
And how do you think your character interacts with these characters? That love-hate relationship, or?
Yeah, a lot of fear also. Fear of abandonment, fear of not having friends, fear of loving Chris, hating Michael, hating Chris for loving Michael because he has Chris. There's a lot of confusion, I suppose, in Jerry's mind.
I hear this movie brought you to Ireland. Have you ever been to Ireland before?
This movie did bring me to Ireland. No, I've never been to Ireland before. I've seen Ireland in calendars, and I think probably the only other place in Europe that I would definitely travel. Any other place, but as for wanting to travel, probably Greece. But Ireland, just you got the rain. I love rain. I love the thunder. Actually, they don't have thunderstorms here, but I just love the rain, the dark clouds, the green, the wind, the fresh air, no smog. So
you mentioned about your character earlier and some of the things that we go through as children and how you will relate parts of that to this character.
Mm-hmm.
What else did you prepare for this role? How did you prepare if you needed to?
Know my lines as well as possible. I don't do much backstory preparation. It just pretty much takes place right then and there. Yeah, I guess you personalize some stuff, like different characters. You personalize who they were in your life, about having conversations you never did have with these people in the past that you wanted to. So now you can in this alternate reality, so to speak. Like maybe there was a girl I was really in love with in high school, and I never got the chance to talk to her, and I never got the chance to explain myself like maybe I would toward Chris. And then this is therapy, basically. Why should you pay for therapy when someone else can pay you to do your own therapy? That's how I look at it.
On the big screen.
Yeah, exactly.
My name is Rick Hurst. The role I'm playing is Scott.
Can you tell me about Scott?
Tell you about Scott. Scott's of the group, he's very much the loner. He's the guy who you would think would be the leader of the group, but I choose not to. For the simple reason that it takes too much work. It's too hard to move forward in his life. He's kind of caught in that mid-20s thing where you want to be an adult, but you're still very much a kid, and you'd like to stay a kid, and dealing with responsibility is not something that he's really too keen on. He's sort of like the party director of the whole thing.
Can you relate to the character?
Yeah, I can to a certain extent. I mean, I tend to feel that I'm a little bit more responsible-oriented, but I mean, that little wild side of me that just says, yeah, you can go off now. It's great because it's like a little playground for you. As an actor, you get a chance to do those things. Some of the tendencies, i.e. the sexual tendencies that he leans towards are a little extreme, but that's sort of his nature, the extremist nature, and to be able to go there is like definitely only on film. I'm not going to go there on on everyday life pretty much. Originally, the role I thought I was reading for was the role of Michael, because I guess he was like the person keeping order of the group, and definitely the leader. And then I started reading Scott, and Scott was written as a blonde, buzz cut, like swimmer, kind of surfer guy, and I thought that's just nowhere near me. It's kind of the other end of the spectrum. So, but it was nice that the director, he wasn't really looking for those like perfect stereotypes. It's like, here's the jock, here's the good, you know, here's the straight-laced guy, here's the bitch, here's the that, you know. He was very much into coloring those characters and making them a lot more real instead of making them like a body count, you know. It's one of the things that he specifically mentioned to, I guess, the casting director prior to coming in, to bringing us all in for this. So, you know, and I never really played a role like that. I never played, you know, the quote, bad boy asshole, you know. And that was something that I was really interested in trying out, you know, because it's so hard to make him likable. It's like you want to, it's like he'd be the first person you'd say, yeah, off him. He's, you know, he's not worth it, you know. But it's nice because when I read the script, it dealt with this group of 6 friends that were all at sort of an impasse in their lives. They were in that sort of middle ground, and one of them winds up rising out. You know, Chris, she winds up being the person who's the strongest of the bunch. And the idea that the Warlock tests and goes to each fear of each person, and you know, that in itself can be very, very interesting to play.
One more last question. All your characters, all the costumes, they're very close.
Yeah.
And here you're living with all of your castmates.
Yeah.
How has that helped, do you think? I would assume so. And
Yeah,
how?
it's definitely helped all of us by living together in one house. I mean, because there have been points in time where I've actually stopped. I mean, I've made dinner a couple of times. I mean, they provide meals for us and everything and cook for us. But I've made meals purposely because that's something I love to do, and it's a way for me to bond with them. We really didn't have any problems coming together. We all hit it off extremely well from day one, and even in the audition and what have you. I think that was a big part of why Eric cast all of us together. And we all came out for for an experience, you know, because you get people saying, oh, you're doing Warlock 3, or you're doing this and that. It's like, no, you know, I'm going to do my work, and if I get to like hang with a bunch of people that are equally as passionate as I am for what I do, then it's just a plus. It's all gravy. So it's been that sort of, it was sort of that Coppola feel though, that we're all living together. It helps. It's definitely helped us because you want, you know, art is supposed to imitate life to a certain extent, and by living together, I think we've definitely done that, you know.
And you get to do it in Ireland.
And you get to do it in Ireland.
My name is Angel Boris, and my character's name is Lisa.
Can you tell me about Lisa?
Lisa is Lisa's probably the craziest one of the bunch. She's free-spirited, almost a hedonist, and her boyfriend Scott are always at each other. They're the lovers of the bunch, kind of make everyone else sick. But Lisa's a very fun character to play because sort of like me, but not really.
Did you know anything about the Warlock series beforehand?
Yes.
Did you see them?
Yes, I did know about the Warlock series. I had actually, it's been a while since I've seen them, but I definitely remember seeing the first one. I don't really remember the second one. I don't know if I saw it, but I am familiar with Warlock.
And tell me about how you came into this project.
I came into this project through auditions through my agency, and you know, went through a few readings with them, and just got lucky, I guess.
And you're working with a first-time director.
Yes.
Tell me about that experience of working with him and what you're able to get from him and him from you and that relationship.
I think Eric being a first-time director, I think he's, you know, he's great. He knows what he wants. He knows exactly what he wants. And I think he's, you know, very good at communicating that. I haven't had any huge scenes yet, so I haven't come across any problems, and I don't think I will. He's a lot of fun. I really enjoy working with him. I think he's great.
And you mentioned like your character's a
Yeah.
hedonist, and you and Scott have certain things going on. Tell me about that whole process. Has it been comfortable for you, and working with the director, has he been making you comfortable?
The director has made me very comfortable with those kind of scenes, you know, any kind of scenes that involve, you know, sexual tension there, or any kind of sexual, you know, attitude or whatever that's going on in that scene. I think that he's made me so comfortable with those scenes. And Rick, who plays Scott, he's so wonderful. He's so much fun. So, we joke around during the set and before we have to do the scenes, and it's not that hard. He's really cute, It's not that hard to pretend, that I'm having a good time. So it's good. It's great.
And here you're working with an Irish crew. Tell me about the differences working with Irish versus American.
Well, the accents are sometimes really hard to understand. What did he say? I think they're great. They're so hard work. They're such hard workers. And everybody loves, it's so great. Everybody can go out and drink pints of Guinness and come back to work the next day and they're fine. It's just, it's amazing. But, they've just been great. So, helpful. Like, anything you need, it's there. And I don't think it really differs too much from the States, but it's just nice. Everyone's like a big family here, which that sometimes you don't get. Everyone's very, very close, and everyone goes out, the crew and the cast all go out and have a good time.
Boti Bliss, and I play Robin.
Could you tell me about the character of Robin?
My character Robin is a young witch, and I'm the one who picks up that the Warlock is the Warlock, but he's very charming, so nobody else sees it but me, and I sense the energy, and I try to warn everybody, but of course they don't believe me. So, and then I confront him, and I try to work my magic, but he's more powerful than I am.
And what's your magic compared to his magic?
My magic is more like the craft, and it's kind of, like I say, it's for the good. And so I can do little stuff, which I hadn't done before until I had to practice it on the Warlock. So I can like move things and stuff like that and protect.
And here are all these characters that you live in this house, or lived in the dorms as well. You're literally living with them as you shoot this film. Describe how that has helped, perhaps, with the movie.
I've got to say, this has been one of the most amazing casts that I've worked with, just because we are in such a close, we're living together. It's kind of like one big dorm room. I'm going through college right now. But it's been amazing because I feel like I've been so close to everybody, and we've all had our little tiffs and stuff, but it just seems to make us closer. I really, really feel close. I really feel close to everybody. It's been a very amazing experience. And also the crew. The Irish crew, they're just so welcoming, and, they all want to take us out and have fun, and it's just been amazing people. Really lucky to get an amazing group like this together.
You became a piece of glass. Tell me about seeing yourself in glass, and then of course you later saw what happened to it. Was that something new for you to become a special effect, essentially?
Okay, what happens is that the Warlock throws this porcelain doll at me, and so in turn I freeze into this glass figure. And I have never done special effects, so it was hard because you have to hit your mark exactly, and doing all this, you still have to think, okay, acting. So it was such a long day, but in the end it paid off because it looked awesome. Being crashed like that, I thought, oh no, I've got to go home and do my reverse voodoo so I don't die. But it was really cool because I've never been killed off at all in anything, so it's fun, very fun.
Eric Fraser.
Eric, tell me about Warlock.
Warlock. Warlock is a film, I think, in the tradition of classic horror films. There's a heroine who sort of comes to understand something about herself through the ordeal that she's put in. And there's a formidable villain, and there's a sense of eroticism and adventure.
Were you familiar with the Warlock series prior to this film?
Actually, I was. I was familiar with the Warlock series. For this one, although this one owes very little to the previous films. And that was kind of what I told everyone when they got on board, was that I saw this not as the third in a series, but as the first in a series, or its own movie. The character is theoretically the same, but really there are no story points that hark back to the original too.
And I spoke to all the most of the cast members up to this point, talking to them about doing, for some of them, really their first feature film, and here they're working with a first-time feature film director. Tell me the experience of becoming a feature film director versus what you've done with your short films and success you've done in the past. What makes this so vastly different, other than it's certainly a much bigger project?
What makes it, I think the hardest thing about making this film feature-wise is simply physical stamina. In a lot of ways, it's easier than when I made my short, because when I made the short film, there was no margin for error. We had 4 days to shoot it in. You didn't see dailies until you were 3 days into the film, and if you missed something, there was no time to get it back. Here, we have an editor making an assembly as we go. We have a second unit team. If we end up missing a shot or a pickup, bang, they're there the next day getting it. So, that takes a little bit of the pressure off. Our schedule is incredibly intense. But really, the hardest part of the job right now is just physical stamina. Is just, getting up in the morning, you work all day. After wrap, my DP, Andrew Turman, who's brilliant, and myself sit down, plan the next day's work. We'll rehearse with the actors sometimes. Last night we stayed for a couple hours after wrap and ran a scene with two of the actors, Bruce and Ashley. And we're constantly working. So that's what's tough.
Your cast members have all said about you that you're very direct and you know exactly what you want. Tell me about working with this cast. What has it been like?
Absolutely fantastic, really. I mean, I was really lucky. First of all, we spent a lot of time casting, and I think that one of the best things about the cast is that no matter who meets them, everyone knows what character they play. No matter where they show up, they're like, oh, well, you're obviously playing Lisa. Well, you're obviously playing Robin. Oh, this must be Michael. That must be Scott. And they really embody those personalities, and so that's an enormous help to me. They walk on the set and they've got their characters nailed. They all have a fantastic attitude. They've been absolutely wonderful. Ashley, who's the lead actress in the movie, Ashley Lawrence, has just an amazing work ethic and has been put through some really grueling stuff. I mean, just running and being out in the rain and tripping and falling and she just is just there take after take after take after take, and all the actors have just been really wonderful and really responsive and really interested in their in their roles. Who is this person? What are they doing? And it's just been one of the best parts of it for me.
And here you were working on your first feature with an Irish crew. Tell me about working with this Irish crew.
It's really been wonderful. Working with the Irish crew has been absolutely fantastic. They have been first of all, they're so good. They're so quick. They're so on it. They've got some really amazing skills, and they're so committed. In LA, you tend to have the occasional jaded crew, where it's like whatever. We've worked on 60 movies, and this is just another day. And here, these are people that are really into making films. They really feel that these moments are special. That they feel lucky that they get to make movies, and there isn't as much film production here as there is in LA, and there's a real kind of enthusiasm and a real love for movie making that you don't always get, and I find is just enormously helpful, and it's a great energy to be around.
Art is aesthetic.
What's your name and your role?
All right.
So that's the hardest question, I think.
I was just going to say that is because, who really are we?
And then we'll get into the theory of
And what
relativity.
roles are we really playing? Are you talking about, social?
Exactly. If you could just state your name and your role.
Paul Francis, and I'm playing Michael.
Could you tell me about the role of Michael?
Well, basically, I guess I would be the egotistical, self-centered, capitalistic cocksucker. I guess, no, I'm I'm the one that's vying for all the worldly resources. That would pretty much sum it up.
Because the characters in this movie are so close, and here, from my understanding, none of the actors knew each other prior to making this film. Here you're living together in the manor house. Describe how that has helped or perhaps hindered you as characters and as actors in this film.
Well, being that we're living in the manor house is completely different. And the manor house is basically the studio here in Galway is surrounded by a house that basically houses all the actors that are working on the film. And it's different because normally when you work on a film, you're in a hotel, or maybe you rent an apartment or whatever. But you're usually not surrounded by all the actors, so it brings in a whole new element, so I think it works though. I mean, immediately you are like thrown into the tub with them, and you gotta share the rubber ducky. You know what I'm saying? So no, I think it's a good thing, and really where we're at, there isn't much around, so it definitely brings everybody together. But I think I think it's a great thing. I think that you go through the same things if you were working in the middle of the desert somewhere.
In the film, your character's basically wasting away at a certain point.
Yeah.
Describe that and what they're doing to you to help create that effect.
Well, I think my character is an extremely vain individual, and the twist on that is it ultimately is his demise, so to speak. He literally withers away like a rotten apple, and it was personally just a lot of fun. I mean, there's Anthony and Robert are the two the special effects guys who are working on this, and they're just brilliant. They're really great, and it's neat because in 1 second you'll go from you're all made up pretty, and the next half my face is burned away, and it's really neat. I mean, it's a whole different ball of wax, that's for sure.
People kind of know quite a few things that I've done that let's say are on the darker side. The attraction for this was that it was very gothic and very sensual. I don't know how much of that. Obviously, there'll be two different versions, I would imagine. But instead of just the bad guy, which we've come to use in that terminology, and so it was very attractive, and I've always liked kind of gothic pieces anyway. Great fan of Edgar Allan Poe, and kind of all came together. Really.
What I find interesting about this particular film, if you want to call it a horror film, which essentially it's going to be sold as, is it also has a lot of human nature into it. And a lot that you're bringing in as well, a certain sensuality. He's not strictly a scary figure.
No.
There's humanity to him. How did you go about then developing this characterization for him? From reading Poe, from talking with Eric, the director, and the two of you coming to a conclusion of how you see this man coming across on screen?
I guess I'd say that the overriding thing that I got from Eric was why do people trust other people? We know the genre of film that we're doing, and of course the key is how do you do it differently, and there's a great sense of questioning, I guess, of each other in the six main characters who share, a time, if you will, in this house, and injected into that environment is I, and how do you almost, if you will, because you've basically only got 90 minutes to tell a story, how do you immediately get trust? And one of the things is to listen. So he spends a lot of time on the surface looking as if he's an interested party, and what better way to be interested and use the guise is to be a builder, an architect who is here to study the history of the home. And in that, he then uses his device, which is to get as much information and power he can in a short space of time. And then
You have some scenes coming up in the lair. Have you seen the drawings or of the costume of the monster they created? And what are your feelings about that? Is that how you had seen it, as the pure evil incarnate?
I kind of loosely know Rob Hall, whose shop made everything, and I think a lot of the key to any of this stuff is having a great sense of humor, because at the end of the day, when you see the finished product, it's all fine and good and everything, but the work that goes into it, a lot of it you don't see, and he's got a great sense of what can really, be photographed very, very well. Whether you get to see it all, that's obviously, the whole trick of a lot of this stuff is seeing less. But I have great faith in him. Yeah. I mean, the only thing that I would add is that I'm personally very, very pleased that Trimark have chosen to make their film here. There's a wonderful opportunity to make incredible films, and this is such an incredible country. I think, in Los Angeles we get, very spoiled with the weather, and we forget that, there are places that rain. So what? What you get back is so beautiful in terms of production value, and I'm personally very, very privileged to have the opportunity.
Oh, that I'm Ashley Lawrence and I play Chris.
Can you tell me a bit about Chris?
Yeah. Chris is someone who is emotionally led through her life, but because she finds out she's adopted and she doesn't know her birth family, she doesn't know a lot about herself. She's a little externally driven, and she spends most of the movie trying to figure out who she is, and of course she realizes that internally it was there all along, She's strong.
And how have you worked with the director in terms of coming about interpreting the character? Did you work with Eric closely to figure out about
Actually,
this?
yeah, which is why I did the movie, is because he worked so closely with me on communicating what he wanted and was very open about what I wanted to bring to it. And he was very communicative. We talked about it, and levels to hit and things to aim for, and emotions not to play, but to kind of reveal anyway, which was nice.
What also seems very nice about this film, here you have these young actors, you and, from what I understand, the other actors didn't know each other beforehand, and yet in this film you're supposed to be a very close, tight-knit group.
Yes.
And you're living in the manor house, trying to get to know each other. Do you think that's helped in terms of your characterizations and how it comes across on screen?
Yeah, I do. I think what helps in terms of a group of people that have to be friends in a film, getting to live together, you get very familiar with people's habits and their quirks and their senses of humor, and so you get very physically at ease with them, so it transfers really well on a set.
Tell me about working in Ireland. You've worked on American productions,
Right.
and now you're working with an Irish crew.
Um,
You notice differences?
the Irish crew is just so nice. Not to say that an American isn't, but there's a real family sense here, and people go to pubs and go out dancing, there's cows and greenery, and it's just lovely.
And do you like horror films? And here, Warlock certainly is a known series. How do you think audience will take to this particular?
I didn't see the other Warlock movies. I'm not particularly driven to horror films, although I like the art of them. I like the suspense of them. I like what you don't see. This one, Eric, the director, actually let us create characters and relationships, and I think that always makes a story more worth telling, regardless if it's a horror film or a drama or a comedy, when you actually feel for the people involved and there's something invested.
And that seems a lot how it separates itself from other horror films
I think
as well.
it does separate itself by having an emotional investment in the characters, yeah.
Do you think it also helps working within this set, how they created this house? Rather than going to a house, they've actually created a sparsely dirty house. Has it helped you interpret your character?
Well, I think what's nice about how they created the set was that everything is kind of monochromatic, because Eric and Andrew, the DP, worked very, very closely with the art director, Ian, to create something that was all the same tone and hence all the same mood. And that was really nice, down to our wardrobe. So you just don't usually see that kind of eye for detail and that kind of care put into a film like this.
It seems everyone who's come to it coming with their own little passion to come together to make this, because certainly there's a lot of constraints on this movie. You have a short shooting schedule in here.
Oh yeah, we're doing like 13
It's-
pages a day. I know.
Ian, if you could just say your name once long. again.
Ian Bailey, production designer on Warlock 3, End of Innocence.
And after you read the script, take me through the steps that you went through. You read the script, and did you sit down with the director and producer to come up with the interpretation of what they were looking for?
Yeah, I read the script. I talked with Bruce and Eric. They were over here for a weekend on a scouting mission, and we had a quick chat about basically how Eric saw it, which is that's stage one. And his really strongest criteria was to have a lot of green, so the reds we were going to use were going to pop out. As far as the concept of the house is concerned, that most of the picture takes place in, that had to be at least 400 years old. So architecturally, it doesn't really fit with East Coast America. That time we didn't have stone buildings in America then. So my thinking behind that was then the Warlock's got to be European, blonde-haired, blah, and he's probably had a castle in some part of Europe, and he's decided to sort of transplant that brick by brick, stone by stone, over in America, where all his devilment and nastiness sort of surfaces and comes to the fore. And it really came on from there. All the green, I used the green then to indicate decay, and damp, and all the things that the green's associated with, as well as all the bad sort of emotions that people feel, envy, jealousy, that sort of stuff. And that was the starting point. Next time I met them, they were back here. I had some drawings to show them, and we went on from there.
And in coming across the ideas, so you were thinking about the type of furniture that would still be left in the house, everything from a room such as this to the bedrooms.
Yeah.
So you were conceptualizing the entire room down to the finer points,
Oh,
down
yeah.
to rugs on the floor and everything.
You start with the whole, and then when that feels right, you start picking at the details and making sure that everything fits together. As far as furniture is concerned, it's a very minimalist, dressed picture. The idea being, it says in the script, Chris has to rush to this house to get what remains of her inheritance, because the family over 50 years, while it's been vacant, have come and pilfered things. So that's why all the light fittings are gone, but the cables are still there. Some of the furniture's left behind, but it's furniture that perhaps wasn't wanted by her other relatives or ancestors. And the other thing as well is, Eric made it quite clear he wanted very little around anyway. All the stuff that the kids use when they arrive, they've brought with them, Tupperware, camper stuff. So that was right down my street. I'm a pretty minimalist designer anyway. I like as few things as possible, unless the script of the period, specifically asks for it.
Tell me about then your designing of the lair, the Warlock's lair.
The Warlock's lair, first of all, going back to the sort of mythological sort of druid sort of feel of the warlock himself. I've always had an interest in old cultures like North Indians, Aboriginal art, and that spurred the fact that I love Celtic stuff as well. And we're in Ireland, and it just seemed a really good way, instead of just making the proverbial cave with the stalagmites and stalactites in it and all this weird sort of soft forms, we wanted it quite harsh. So I went along the lines of his cave actually being made. It was the center of the focus of his demonic power, if you like. So I sort of used the reference of old Celtic burial mounds, but changed it in such a way that there was no reference to, the good side of the Celtic culture, and that's where the designs of that came from. So it's actually built from blocks rather than just some sort of weird cave that he found in the middle of nowhere. Because the cave is actually the Warlock's lair is below the house.
Tell me, you've come from England to work here in Ireland. Tell me about the difference working with an Irish crew.
This Irish crew are pretty much they're very young to start off with, but their age or their experience is doesn't compare to the experience I've actually got working on features here. I think some of them now are on their 11th or 12th feature film in the space of 2.5 years, which is a phenomenal record. And the thing is, they're very dedicated to what they do. They're very much into actually sort of giving their best. And that all comes around from the fact that they want to learn all the time. And if somebody's wanting to learn all the time, then you're onto a good on the winning stick basically. And this crew here are like probably one of the best I've worked with.
That's a nice compliment for them.
No, they sort of know it, I'm sure, now I've told them enough times. But they're a great crew, and it's not just like interdepartmental sort of working apart. Everybody works together. They socialise together. I mean, half of them sort of live together because they have to share, houses in Galway. Yeah, it works really well.
The first thing you just say your name and your position within the film.
Okie dokie, Robert Hall, special effects makeup and creature effects for Warlock 3 End of Innocence.
And you're working with your partner, whose
Right,
name is?
Anthony Gaillard and Pierre Oliver Tebnit, and we are almost human. I feel that way today.
Tell me about some of the special effects you've created for this particular film.
Well, we're doing a lot of the stuff you'd expect to see in Warlock. I mean, we're doing a lot of like deterioration stuff. Obviously the Warlock has to put curses on people, so we're doing deterioration on one, the main actor in particular. Sort of the love interest, so it's even more tragic that he's sort of falling apart. So we're doing those type of things. We're doing everything from that to animatronic creature. The Warlock actually morphs into this big beast, sort of his bestial core, what he's like on the inside, and it's sort of a variation of like the old mythology about witchcraft and the tarot cards and that type of thing, and sort of a manifestation of all those elements into this pure physical form. So we're doing that. A lot of gore effects. It's a pretty bloody film, and just a lot of off-the-wall things.
And so did you read the script and make interpretations from that script, sit down with the producer and director to come about the ideas?
Yeah, we all went over ideas together, the producer and the director and myself, and pretty much everyone. It was a good pre-production for us. I mean, everyone came to our studio, which was great. A lot of times you don't get that, especially in Roger Corman movies. But everyone came to the studio and we looked at designs and talked about things. So yeah, we had a good collaboration in the beginning, which is a lot of, you don't get that a lot. So yeah, that was good. We went over designs and everyone pretty much had a clear idea of what we were going to do for the creature, which was sort of our main focal point. That's the thing we really wanted to do for this film, because the gore things and the aging things are fine, but we wanted to do something that was never in one of the Warlock movies, which was something like a big, gnarly creature.
So basically it started from first the idea stage and you started sketching out some ideas?
Yeah, we do different things, and we do computer designs. For this we started a computer design, but it was starting to go against us with time, so we just decided to do traditional sketches. We did sketches, we did maquettes, which are just small scale versions of the actual creature, how it's going to look, and from there we just went to sculpting the heads and all the various appendages.
Joe, 1 quick second, please. You can stop tape. Okay,
Speeding.
Thank you. So you started talking about the Warlock and how, if you could just continue.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the creature came about with us just getting together and doing a small scale version, which is called maquette, and we sculpted that entirely, and decided on the different elements, like he has raised legs like a horse. And that's always tricky when you're doing something like that and you're putting a human inside of it. I mean, it's fine if you're doing a puppet, but if you're putting a human inside the suit, obviously there's safety and things like that. And Anthony Guyard is actually playing the creature, which is always fun for us too. We get to be the monster, to actually scare people. And you know, I mean, this is one thing that we do that for a living. We scare people, but it's even better when you're in the suit and you can actually rear. So.
And will most of the work be able to be done here on the soundstage, or will you have to do it back in Los Angeles, some of the effects?
Almost everything is being completed in LA at our studio, and they're shipping everything out. And we're doing finishing touches here, obviously, you know, so we can go over things with the director and say, oh, you'd like this paint scheme, that, and that, and that. So it's always good to not get things 100% finished, so you don't have to backtrack that much. You can just sort of say, hey, how do you like this so far? And tweak it when the proper people are there to make decisions. You know.
So you had the deterioration. You had the Warlock. Tell me about some of the other things in this film.
We're doing makeup on Bruce Payne, the Warlock, which is always fun. You know, to do it on the main evil guy, which he's basically coming up out of the cauldron towards the end. Actually, right before he changes into this beast, and he has a pretty interesting burn makeup on. That's really all I'm going to say. It's kind of a sort of realistic, but it's supernatural at the same time. So we're hoping to do something a little different with that. And he also has these goat eyes. We made some contacts specifically for him that had these goat lenses, which are going to match our actual creature eyes later. So that miscellaneous things. You know, Ashley Lawrence. We did a thing on her where she sees her image in the mirror, which is basically like Bride of Warlock kind of thing. It was a real quick thing, but it was fun. It was sort of like reverting back to the old Halloween days. And okay, what can you do real quick and do this and this and this? So that was fun. We did some big teeth on her and some stuff. So just a lot of little things. People getting their necks ripped out and just general carnage.
Were you familiar with the Warlock series prior
Yeah.
to this?
Yeah, I was a big fan of the Warlock series. Actually, I love them. I mean, I love all those kind of movies, of course, but I mean Warlock in particular because he was very suave and that type of thing. So at first, when I heard Julian Sand wasn't going to be in this one, I was like, oh, that's kind of a bummer. But when I see what Bruce is doing with the character, I think it's going to be very interesting. I think he's going to really scare some people.
With your help.
Well, hopefully. I mean, hopefully with our help. But he's a pretty scary guy on his own. I wouldn't mess with him. No, he's a nice guy, and he's pretty intimidating looking. When he acts, he's got a very strong presence. I think he's going to really do some great things with this character.
And here you're working in Ireland.
Yeah, in Ireland, and it's beautiful. It's rainy, and
Has it changed the way you work with it, the people that surrounding you, the crew and such? Is it a bit different for you?
You know what? It's not that different. I mean, I've worked here and there, so I'm used to adapting. But this is actually, I was pretty surprised when I came in. It actually smelled like Concord, the studio. I mean, I spent most of my time at Concord back there, and then I came here. It's like Concord, Ireland. It was still Concord. I mean, it's a little bit nicer of a studio. But besides that, it's pretty much like Concord spirit. You know, good camaraderie, good people. Just want to, you know, do a fun job within their parameters, which are usually pretty meager. You know, and that's great. It's a good experience to be with all these people. Everyone just wants to have a good time and make a fun movie, so it's cool.